The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 12, Not Tomorrow Yet. This is a very surprising episode, I'll be honest, because I thought for sure this was going to be the episode where somebody died. Fortunately, nobody did. We do end up having Carol and Maggie captured by the end of this episode, which, of course, is a very scary prospect. And considering how things are playing out, it's very easy for them to kill someone in the next episode that's not either, that's, Carol or Maggie, because so far in the trailer we only see these two women that end up capturing them, but I'm sure they have radios to other people as well. I mean, they were out for whatever reason in the middle of the night, so I'm sure, they're not too far from their own people. They probably already have, walkied somebody else that has to go to Negan and the rest of the people to kind of get reinforcements. And we see in the trailer that they kind of drive over this bridge, so I don't know if we're going to get to see the main compound or if that area where Carol was in that chair was like just yet another compound that they have. Because it was certainly different. What they did in this was very different from the comics, because they didn't have, at least not that I know of, because I haven't gotten too far into the Saviors just yet. But what I've read from the comics, they just have one area, and this kind of makes them, oddly enough, this makes them a lot more dangerous because of stuff like this. They go in, they have this mission to take people out. It goes crazy, but they do outgun everyone. They, catch all these people by surprise. They take them all down. And it's like, if that was like the comics and it kind of worked that way, this would have been done. If it was the comics, they would have taken everyone out. Most likely, someone probably would have died because you may have had more people because it would have been just the only single compound. But it's like, okay, that slightly makes them more dangerous because they've always talked about how they have 20 people and stuff like that. And that was just that one building. And then we still had other people. There's still another compound, we find out, of course, because obviously we haven't seen Negan yet. So, it makes them more dangerous. It shows that they have far more numbers than just, they'll probably 20 people, something like that. So that I actually enjoyed. It makes them even scarier because we still don't really know how far off they are from showing us Negan. So it just has me very excited for that. Definitely love the action in this episode, especially considering everyone did survive. It makes the action even better because I'm not they didn't take away from the action for, a character death, which would have kind of sapped all the, kind of epicness of the action, because it would have just been really sad to, someone died. But I love what they did with this one. It was really fun to see all the characters go through a lot of different emotional states in this. It starts off with Carol making the cookies, and when they end that before they go to the opening title sequence, we see that she put a cookie on Sam's grave, and I thought that was interesting. She, things have just kind of gotten bad, and she has a conversation with Morgan, and I totally felt she was right. I believe that was before the title, where he's like, you not saying anything is almost like it's your fault, and it's like, no, it's not. I felt exactly like she done. Like, that makes no sense. You did something dumb that has nothing to do with me. So it was like, all right. I thought that was pretty cool. And she kind of continues on. We see later, before she goes on the mission, that she ends up kissing the guy whose name I definitely do not know. They may or may not have done something because she's like, well, it's not tomorrow yet. So there you go. But I don't, we don't know if they actually did anything or not. I'm assuming they did because they ended with that line and then they cut to some other people. But I just thought that was really cool. We had a breakup between Abraham and Rosita, which really caught me off guard because, once again, different from the comics. In the comics, as weird as it is, as crappy as it was, the way that he did it, it's way better than in the comics because if I remember right, he was cheating on her in the comic books. So I'm like, alright, at least thinking of it that way, it's a little bit better. It's just sad, and he's not just flat out cheating on her. I was like, okay. I saw it that way because I read the comics, but it's still out of nowhere, and it was just like, this seems so random. And when he first said it, I thought he meant he was just leaving, the group, and I was like, what is he talking about? But even leaving her was just a crazy thing as well, and he mentions, when I met you, I thought you were the last woman on Earth, so he's interested in someone else, which I think we can all assume is going to be Sasha, and I don't know if that's really going anywhere. It seems, considering his, craziness as of late, I feel like they're definitely in a more platonic sort of relationship, but I don't know. They had, that weird little moment before he, got the suit, or it was either before or after he got the suit. He said something to her about them just doing it or something like that. I can't really remember what the line was. It was a really crazy line, much like "Why are dingleberries brown?" Just he says weird stuff. But that really caught me off guard. I was surprised that they even did it in general because it was so different from the comics. And plus, even knowing about the comics, it was just like that seemed to come out of nowhere. But he's been pretty crazy lately. Like it seems really spread out, but if you look at the episodes, it's only been like what's I guess technically it's been a couple of weeks because they skipped like 2 weeks or something like that after Carl got shot. They skipped like a full 2 weeks. So I guess technically it's been a while, but that's still a short amount of time. And he's been going a little crazy lately. So it's like I don't know. Like it's shocking, but at the same time, it's not that surprising because he's been acting so weird lately. And with the last episode, like almost like it was okay to have kids, but at the same time, he was like being weird about how they could have kids, and then thinking about his wife and stuff like that. And it was just like I don't know what's going through his head right now. Like he seemed happy, and you know, in the last episode when he left behind Rosita's thing, I guess that was foreshadowing like he's gonna leave her behind as well, which I figured it was. I was like, okay, he wants to be alone, which I still don't understand why. Like him seeing his wife at the last minute, I guess just means there's other women out there to do or something. I really don't know exactly where his mindset is, but it was weird and it definitely caught me off guard. Of course, Eugene being in there and just being like, oh, have you tasted these things? That was a really funny scene. And he's wearing like one of the most ironic shirts ever, I think, where it's like this whole situation about love and stuff like that. It would have been more ironic if they're actually in Virginia, of course, but it's like this whole little thing happening, and then you turn around and he's wearing a shirt that says Virginia's for lovers, and it's just like, all right, and he's just like, you tried these cookies? It looked like he was looking at a box or something, like they've got like protein and stuff, and of course she closed the door in his face, but I thought that was an interesting moment. Who knows what's going to happen or where he's even going to be staying. I'm sure they have a ton of open houses still, but it was just crazy. It was like, it was just out of nowhere, and then it's like, well, you're not the last woman on earth, so that's pretty much it. I got options. It's pretty much how he left that. But then we get into the actual attack on everything, and it starts off pretty good. I was surprised by how long that it went well for, and like I said, I'm still surprised by the fact that no one died in this episode. That was, one of our characters, and there was definitely some moments where I was like, I think this person might die. I'm pretty sure after some of the stuff that's happened with Abraham, I'm worried that he's gonna die fairly soon. Especially now, it's like they're pushing some stuff, and I'm like, I just feel like he's gonna try to be a bit too much of a loner, and he'll literally be alone somewhere, and he'll just get taken out at random. So I'm worried. I'm really worried about that. I thought it was gonna happen for sure this episode, but then we had the scene with Glenn and Heath when they're in the armory, and I was like, I don't. I'm like, they probably won't do that. Like Heath just got introduced. He's a big character in the comics, so I'm like, I know they won't kill him off like just off the top. He's barely been in the show. Glenn, they just did the fake death thing, so I'm sure he's not gonna die, anytime soon. Although they could still do that because how they've kind of messed up with the timeline a little bit. So they still could, or I guess they haven't messed with the timeline, so they could kind of go in order if they wanted to, which would be depressing, especially after the fake death, which a lot of people were mad at on both sides of the fence. Actually, people were mad when he fake died, and then people were mad when he actually ended up being alive, which I figured he was, but mad on both sides. So they probably won't be doing that. But that was a cool moment for them. Also, Glenn killing a human for the first time, and I'm sure a lot of people forgot that he never killed a human before because you don't really think about it. It's like everything they've gone through, you kind of just assume everybody's killed somebody, but they mentioned that, I want to say it may have been on The Talking Dead or something like last season, and they mentioned like, oh, Glenn technically never killed anyone, or something I saw online, and it reminded me. So when they talked about it, I was like, yep, he's never killed anyone, and he had to in this episode, and he kind of helps Heath, where it's like, I just did it so you don't have to, and basically stay lucky and stay in this position where you don't have to kill anyone. And unfortunately, that's not what happens because they get chased down this hallway. Fortunately, as crappy as it is for them emotionally, it's like at least they survived, and it's like I'm just glad that they didn't kill off two characters, which would have been really crazy. But I was like, they most likely won't. But that was also a pretty cool moment. Like they both get some machine guns. It's like we got a bunch of people coming at us, and they just stand up and just shoot down the hallway. So that was a pretty cool scene. Pretty dumb for the people that knew that that was the armory, because there's no way I'd keep running towards the door when it's like, oh, they just went in the room with all of our guns and stuff. I would have been like right down, like I would have just dived out of the way of that door, because that's stupid. But they all get wiped out. Pretty much all the bad guys get wiped out. Everyone does end up making it, and then we get our ending, and two really cool things happen. First off, when the guy survived, we find out that he has Daryl's bike, which means that either those two people that stole his bike are dead, or they've been captured and taken. And I don't know. I feel like they might have just been taken, but at the same time, you never really know. Like, it depends on what they decide to do with the saviors. We may or may not still have this other group, which is not the saviors. Those people that had the machine guns and stuff like that. Most likely, those were the saviors. That's what I'm guessing. But it could be someone else. I highly doubt it, though, especially because of the comics. But I don't know. They could add another group in there. There's definitely another group that they could potentially add in, but I don't know how long the season's going to be. I think we do still have probably 10 more episodes if it's going to be, a 22 episode season. So they certainly could add a third group if they wanted to, and that could be who those people were, but we still don't really know. But Daryl has his bike back, and then of course we have it where this woman comes up on the walkie-talkie, and I'm assuming they had a sniper rifle. I would just guess that, but she comes on and it's like, hey, basically we got two of your people, and then they end the episode and it's just like, crap. I hope nobody dies next week. So I'm really freaked out about that. But this was a fun episode. A lot of people had some interesting moments. I have no idea what Morgan was doing, what he was working on, but he kind of burst into tears a little bit at the end during the music scene. So I don't know what happened with him. I can't think of the guy's name at all, but the priest, he had a pretty interesting moment where he actually killed a guy, and he showed that he's still a man of God in a sense, but he had to kill a guy. And of course, when he did the passage as kind of a prayer before he killed the guy, I was like, that is definitely some Boondock Saints type stuff, because that's what they did in those movies. So it was kind of funny. It's something else to remind me of Boondock Saints, which the character Norman Reedus plays Daryl. That actor was in those movies. I mentioned that before, but in case you guys may have forgotten or just didn't know. So every time I see something where it's like religion and murder, is like, that makes me think of Boondock Saints, and one of those actors is in this series. So that was a pretty cool moment for him. I was kind of surprised that officially happened for his character in this episode. Tara technically had her first kill as well, because we never actually saw her kill anyone before, because I think she was in it was kind of like a firing squad, but she didn't actually shoot anyone. And she's gone through these couple of seasons, and she's officially had to kill someone in this episode, and now she's going off for 2 weeks, and as well as Heath, and they're going off to, I guess, on a crazy long supply run. I don't know why they're leaving for 2 whole weeks, but I don't know, surveying the area, I guess. But I certainly enjoyed this episode. I'm very curious what they're going to be doing. They did let them go. They did take off before the guy on the motorcycle came out, so they won't be in the next episode. And I thought that was just an interesting little thing, that they actually did end up leaving for their 2-week deal, and I feel like that's a great way to have it where they end up captured off screen, and when we get to wherever this main compound is for the saviors, we might end up seeing both of them as prisoners, basically, because they were captured during their little 2-week run. So I feel like that could happen. Of course, I hope not. But they also kind of played out the whole "I'll tell you I love you when you get back" deal. And I think whenever anything's hopeful, it's like, I think someone's dying. So I don't know. They might play it that way with Tara, who's not in the comics. So I have no guesses as to whether or not she could possibly live or die. But I don't know. It seems like a high possibility, because it's like, oh, they're leaving for 2 weeks. We just murdered all these people, and they're gonna be pissed. It just seems logical. I'm sure they kind of, considering they were out there, and it's like, hey, you with, the woman mentioned exactly the type of gun Rick had and everything. So I'm sure they saw what type of vehicles they had, and it's like, oh, this RV or whatever. Like I mentioned, they could have sent someone off to bring in reinforcements before, they had to save the guy that got knocked off the motorcycle. But I don't know. I'm glad no one died this time, but now I'm just freaking out. They have a deal. That just seems like a bad idea to me. So I think we might lose somebody next week. But I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys think will happen in next week's episode. We have one of the craziest examples of survival in this episode because we never really get these types of moments where everyone makes it. The last time we had a crazy battle moment when they had to fight a giant horde inside of Alexandria. Not everybody made it, and so we had a crazy action scene against other humans, no less, and everybody survived. So I feel like they're kind of building us up like, oh, it was a great action scene, everybody made it, end on a bit of suspense, and then next week I think they're going to kill somebody off. I really hope not, but the fact that everyone survived this time just makes me insanely worried that we're going to have to see someone die next week. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think is going to happen in next week's episode. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.